Hi, it's Mike Stephenson here. In this video, we're going to have a quick look at a new update for Turbo360 where we've made some user interface and theme modifications we'd like to share with people. So here's the new look and feel when I go into the website. You log in, you're going to be presented with a theme that's more aligned to our brand. So when we did the Turbo360 migration from Serverless 360, we launched a new website. Get that here, you can see we've got this look and feel, and now the application's aligned a bit more to that look and feel. Now, we've got the widgets across the top here that you can see before. And to be honest, in the application, there's very minor changes, so we wanted to have minimal disruption to users already using the application. So some of it's really just color alignment, but we did add a few features that we think would be really handy. So the first one is the widgets down here. And what you can do here is you can go and add widgets outside of the scope of the module. So let's say, for example, I want to have a widget that shows me, in this case, it would be my budget status. So I can pick a few departments that I want to have display in my budget here. I'm going to choose to have it as a column. We add the widget here and you'll see this will appear, and I've got one unhealthy budget, a whole bunch of healthy ones, so I can add that, and then every time I come into the application, these top high level widgets would be the first thing that you see. So it could be a good way to sort of project out the health of the applications that you're monitoring, or the health of the cost, to people who are just coming into the tool. Now, the next thing we're going to look at in Cost Analyzer, so if we go in, you'll see it's just a bit nicer, the look and feel down here. The interesting thing, we've just released this and my Turbo360 costs are showing up as red, so I'll probably have to have a look and see if there's a reason why those costs have increased. So that's a good thing that my monitoring's triggering an alert here, so we'll have a look at that outside of this video. But if I look at my document 360 costs, and you'll see we've got our headline overview here. The analysis stuff hasn't really changed. It's really just these little widgets on the top are a bit more intuitive. We've added an average cost per day, so when I'm doing a comparison here, so let's have a look. Service name is one of the ones I quite like. So if I have a look at my average cost per day when I'm comparing service names, so we're comparing month before last versus this month, and I can see some of my costs have changed, but overall I can get the idea my average cost per day for document 360 has gone up by about £25 a day. So then the cost review, I'm sure that'll be something we'll be discussing with the team. We've also added a new feature called the chart library. So up here I can basically save a graph. So if let me show what this would look like. Let's create a new graph. So let's have by resource type. Have a right. So if I want to save this, I can go actions, add the chart library. Now, what some of our users have asked for is basically I'm setting up this team over here, and I'd have my my new graph. So it's in the chart library up here, and I can open that up and then I can save it, and that gets added to this document 360 application. But if I say go over to the BizTalk 360 application, and if I go into the analysis section, now what I want to do here is I want to add from the chart library Mike's test graph. So here I can add this graph really simply, and I can go and save it, and that's easily added to my other apps. Where we think users will get helped out quite a lot here will be if you're setting up multiple teams and you want to have them set up in a very similar way, you can just add graphs from the chart library, saving you time on having to configure them regularly. And also, for example, if you were an MSP, you might be setting up different nodes for different teams in a customer, and this will, again, it just saves you time to get the views that you really want. We go back down to document 360, so there hasn't really been any changes in the monitoring section. I think we did add one thing in the anomaly detection where we added a threshold. So when we're monitoring for changes, you can trigger or sort of have a percentage change where, let's say my SQL database is for the change by less than 10%. I may not want an alert on it, but if it spikes by more than that, then you might want to get an alert. So this allows you to put a threshold of when an anomaly would be something you care about. I'm thinking of scenarios where it's easy for your alerting to create too much noise, which annoys people. So if we can focus on just getting alerts when you really want them and cut out the noise. Alerts become more effective. Now, in the schedules, we've added some new features in scheduling. So if I create a new schedule here, so the first couple of things off, you notice we've got the option for skip down at the bottom here. So here I'm going to create a schedule where my resources would turn on and off on a schedule. And in this case, what would happen is, let's say I've got an app service plan on this schedule and we're going to scale it up and down. So whenever it's red, we're going to scale it down to a small. And whenever it's green, we're going to scale it up to a medium. Now, what would happen on this schedule is all night long, 12, 1, 2, 3, we'll be checking the size of that plan. And if it's been manually moved, so a good example would be, let's say we're working overtime at the weekend. If you spin it up, we're automatically going to turn it back down to a small at 10 because that's what the schedule said. So we've added the option for skip. So a case where I might use this, let's say if I made these all skip, right, what would happen in this scenario is every morning at 9, it's going to scale it up to the medium and then it's going to leave it during the day and not touch it. So if you turn it back manually to a small, Turbo360 isn't going to touch that until 7 p.m. when it'll turn back to a small again. Now what this means is, let's say at the weekend, for example, we're going to be checking here to make sure that you've got it set as a small at 9, but if you're working overtime and you spin it up to a medium, it'll be left here during the day and then it'll scale back down at night again. So that gives you just a bit more control over how you want the schedule to work. So you can control if you want it to be keeping things at the minimum as much as possible, or if you want to manually override that with a bit more flexibility. The next thing we added is a monthly schedule. So like the weekly schedule, sometimes you want to have, say, multiple times during the month. So on the 3rd of the month, you might want to have a group of resources that get scaled up because you're going to have peak demand as you get towards month end, and you might want to scale them down later on. So we think you can do a lot more scenarios here. We will be adding in the next releases some ad hoc scheduling options. There'll be another item in this drop down where you can configure other kinds of schedule. That is, maybe you do something like, say, last weekend of the month do X, and you'll be able to scale up and down resources on that schedule. I think the right size, and I don't think we've added anything necessarily new this release. It's just a bit easier. If you notice down here, the actions are a bit easier to identify. They're just a bit better color coded, and I think reservations are the same. Where again, it's more just focused on the usability. So you can see actually I've got a couple of new reservations flagging up as opportunities here. So we'll be looking at them in our cost review this month. So if we go to the other modules and take a look at business applications, for example, you can see again the look and feel. It's in line with the brand of the application a bit more now, and we've got nice sort of cards at the top here showing how things are going. I can see all my different groups here. And if I go into, say, my customer-facing website, so I'll have a look maybe at my partner portal, for example, here. So I've got all my different resources that I've got. And then I've got things like my integration platform. So a lot of this is really just just look and feel updates. We have added some new features. We've had a lot of customers recently speaking to us about Service Bus, actually, so challenges that they're having monitoring Service Bus. And one of the things we can do is we added a new thing to help you with monitoring here. So you can actually, let's say if I want to take this dead letter one here, so let's say I turn that on. So I've got my threshold to trigger on 10 and 20 messages, so I can click on this and it'll give me a view of like how many messages I've got recently on the queue and that kind of thing. So I can see the granularity here if we want to look back further on the counter. So it just makes it a bit easier to help you figure out what thresholds would be good for triggering the monitoring. And then I think the other modules, they're following the same look and feel again now. So things like Documenter and business activity monitoring are changed in line with this. So if we have a look, for example, at BAM, we added them cool features a few weeks ago about the pull model. So here's my push model, and if I flip over into the pull model, we added some videos about these different applications. This one was my one that's querying app insights to create a view of things like API management and functions, and we can query those into my view here. So you can see I've got my the transactions I was searching for, and then I've got my APIM backend, and you can see I've got a whole bunch of messages from this log entry and some functions logs that have joined together. And we're creating this business-friendly view from your technical logs, which I think helps people out. Hopefully, everyone gets a good overview of some of the changes we've made this month. We'll be doing some more specific videos on product features, but I wanted to get something out nice and early, just telling people about the look and feel change, and just giving a quick sort of run through of some of the things we've been doing.